My name is Kate. I'm 19, and this happened this summer when I came home for vacation from university. I wanted to surprise my parents, but when I came home, I met only my little neighbor friend Joe, and I hope you will hear this story until the end, because what happened next just crazy. To be honest, it wasn't planned at all. I had just wrapped up my exams. I was tired, mentally drained, but also a little restless. You know that weird mix of feelings when a chapter ends, but you're not quite sure what's coming next. That was me. So I thought, screw it, I'll head home early, surprise my parents, crash in my old room for a few days, eat actual food, and maybe finally sleep without my roommate's music vibrating through the walls. I stood there for a second, still in my sneakers, kind of staring at nothing. It felt surreal to be home, but also disappointing. I wanted to laugh at myself. I came all the way back, thinking I'd be welcomed like a returning war hero, and instead I was alone in an empty house with the same ugly kitchen tiles I hated since I was 12. Then I heard someone call my name. Kate? I turned and there he was, Joe, my neighbor's kid. I say kid, but I guess he's not exactly a kid anymore. He's a few years younger than me, 17, maybe 18 now. I used to babysit him once or twice when I was like 14. I hadn't seen him in ages. His family lives next door, and we used to be super tight when we were younger, the kind of innocent summer friendship that forms just from living next to someone. He was taller now, way taller than I remembered. His voice was deeper too, kind of startled me at first. He was standing by the fence between our yards with his hoodie half off his shoulder, like he'd just been running or doing something outside. His hair was a little messy. He smiled at me, that same goofy smile he always had, but his jawline, not goofy anymore. We both laughed. It was light, easy, no awkwardness. It felt weirdly natural. I don't know how to explain it. One second I was in college mode, adult world, stressed and messy and independent, and the next I was back in my sleepy neighborhood, talking to someone who knew me from when I was a bratty teen. Except now we weren't kids anymore. He leaned against the porch railing like he'd done it 100 times before, and we just talked for like 15 minutes. About nothing. About school, people in the neighborhood, random stuff. And the whole time I was just quietly surprised at how different he looked. Not just physically, though yeah, he'd grown into himself, but something in his vibe too. More confident, more grounded. I noticed little things, the way he held eye contact, the way he didn't fidget like he used to. And his voice, he had this warm tone that felt calming, even when he was just telling me about some dumb high school drama. Eventually, I said I was gonna go shower and unpack. He said he'd see me later and wandered back toward his yard. As I closed the door behind me, I felt this weird flutter in my stomach. It caught me off guard. Joe, the kid I used to throw water balloons at. I shook it off, thinking I was just tired and overthinking. But I'll be honest, that little spark, it didn't go away. And that's how it all started. Let's get straight to the point. So after Joe left and I was finally alone in the house, I dragged my suitcase upstairs. The place smelled like childhood, like old wood floors, laundry detergent, and that faint warm scent that only your own bed has after months away. My room was untouched, still painted that same soft yellow, with the little fairy lights above my mirror and posters I never took down. The road had been long, hot, sticky. My legs were stiff, my hair felt gross, and I was just done. I tossed my bag onto the floor and headed straight for the shower. There's something about being home alone and naked in your own house that hits different. The warm water hit my back, and I just stood there for a minute, eyes closed, letting it all melt off me. The exams, the stress, the travel. I felt my shoulders drop for the first time in weeks. But here's the thing no one talks about. Being home doesn't turn off your needs. Like, yeah, I'm tired and sweaty and a little disoriented from the sudden switch in environments, but under all that, I was just buzzing. And I hadn't been touched, like really touched, in a while. Not since before finals. I hadn't even had time to think about it between studying and stress. But now, my brain was quieter. My body started talking. I wrapped myself in a towel and went back to my room, still damp. Threw on this light summer dress, one of those barely there cotton ones that cling in all the right ways when you're not trying too hard. No bra, just underwear and soft fabric. I laid down on my bed, closed my eyes, and finally let my mind go wherever it wanted to go. And I slowly placed it on my leg. It was impulsive, totally reckless. But I did it without hesitation, like my body was making choices before my brain could catch up. He stiffened for a second. I could feel the tension spike, but then he just understood. And his hand stayed. He didn't speak. I didn't look at him. We were still in that same hug, my head against his shoulder, my body pressed against his side. And then his fingers started to move. It was insane how tuned in I was to every little movement. I could feel the pads of his fingers, the warmth of his palm, the slight tremble in his touch like he was figuring it out as he went. And I was right there with him, clinging to him, barely breathing, biting the inside of my cheek to stay quiet. It was electric. We didn't even look at each other. It wasn't about eye contact or saying anything. It was about feeling. And I felt everything. My spine arched. My thighs tightened. My hips shifted forward completely on their own. Every small touch from him felt amplified, like he was touching every nerve ending at once. And just as I started to lose control, like really, fully lose myself in the moment, I heard the front door open. Everything froze. We were both upright, like two guilty kids caught sneaking out. I scrambled to pull my dress down properly, wiped at my face, trying to calm my expression. And here, my parents had come home. I took a deep breath, gave Joe a quick glance. He was trying so hard to look normal. And I got up and went downstairs. My mom gasped and hugged me the second she saw me. My dad looked shocked but happy. They asked why I hadn't told them I was coming. I told them I wanted it to be a surprise. We had dinner. We talked. We laughed. I smiled and played the role of the loving daughter perfectly. But the whole time, I was still throbbing from what almost happened. All that day, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. It was like this buzzing under my skin that wouldn't leave. I tried to go about things normally, hung out around the house, helped my mom unpack some groceries, went on a short walk, but my brain was in its own loop. It just kept circling back to that moment with Joe. How unexpected it was, how intense. It had stirred something in me that I hadn't felt in a long time, not just desire, but this weird, deep curiosity. Like suddenly this person I had known for years wasn't just familiar, he was fascinating. And if I was being honest with myself, I wanted more. There was this tension in my chest all day, like I couldn't fully exhale. I kept catching myself zoning out, playing the whole thing over again. Every detail, the way he moved, the closeness, the quietness of it all. I think what really stuck with me was how natural it had felt. Nothing forced, no awkwardness. Just two people who, for one very strange, very real moment, had completely sensed. Later that afternoon, my dad popped into my room to let me know that he and Mom were heading out for the evening. Some family friend needed help with something. I wasn't really listening to the details. I just nodded along, pretending like I wasn't inwardly spiraling. They were going to be gone until late. And the second I heard the front door close behind them, my thoughts went straight back to Joe. The silence in the house felt different now. Charged. I wasn't even trying to justify it anymore. I just knew, deep down, that I wasn't done with what had started between us. And without fully thinking it through, I grabbed a hoodie, slipped on sneakers, and walked across the yard toward his house. His place was quiet. The lights in the hallway were off, and I could tell from the faint glow in the back window that he was probably asleep. I knew his parents were out. They often were in the summer, working long shifts or doing errands that left Joe alone in the evenings. I walked around the side of the house, where the grass was cooler underfoot. His bedroom window was open just a crack, same as always. That's how we used to talk back when we were kids, through that same window, tossing in paper airplanes or dumb jokes. This time I didn't knock. I climbed in slowly and quietly, and sure enough, he was asleep, on his side, shirtless, with the covers tangled around him like he just dozed off mid-scroll. The air in his room was warm, smelled faintly of laundry detergent, and that cologne he always wore. The kind of scent that sticks to your clothes. I reached for my phone. I don't even remember what I opened. Some private tab, some saved videos, just enough to get my thoughts into that warm, slow rhythm. My hand trailed down, brushing past my ribs, my hips, slipping over the soft skin just above the hem of my underwear. I bit my lip. I was already breathing heavier. I let my legs part just slightly, one arm draped across my stomach while the other moved lower. I pulled the dress up just a bit. It was light, soft, easy to move, and slid my hand beneath it, tracing the inside of my thigh with a fingertip. My hips tilted up without thinking. I was deep in it, just letting the feeling build slow and steady, savoring that sense of being alone, being in control, being fully in my own body. I was right there, that moment right before you really let go. Then I heard the knock. 3 sharp taps on the door. My heart jumped. My whole body tensed. I fumbled the phone and shoved it under my pillow, yanked the dress down, trying to gather myself in half a second. Kate? It was Joe. My voice cracked. Yeah? Can I come in? I didn't even have time to think. Sure. The door opened, and he stepped inside, and I was still half lying on the bed, flushed, trying to act casual, like I hadn't just been out to lose my damn mind in there. He stood by the door awkwardly at first, kind of unsure if he should have come in. Sorry, I didn't think your parents would be out, and I guess I just felt like talking. I nodded, patting the edge of the bed. It's fine. You can sit. And just like that, there he was, sitting at the edge of my bed while I sat cross-legged, trying to act like my cheeks weren't burning and that I wasn't breathing just a bit too heavily. He didn't notice, or at least he didn't say anything if he did. It was a weird moment, a weird, electric kind of moment. I was still wound up. My skin felt sensitive, like every inch of me was still humming. And now he was here, sitting in the middle of that leftover tension, totally unaware. Or maybe not totally. So he sat down, and I remember this weird silence filling the room for a second. Not an awkward one, more like that heavy quiet that happens when something's shifting, but neither of you knows it yet. Joe was just sitting there on the edge of my bed, kind of hunched over, his hands clasped, looking down at the floor like he was working something out in his head. And I stayed cross-legged, trying to act normal even though my body was still practically buzzing under my dress, and I could feel heat still pooling between my legs from earlier. Then he started talking about his girlfriend. I honestly didn't expect that. He said he didn't know who else to talk to, that things were rough, that they'd been fighting a lot lately. I let him talk. I didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it, just listened. And the more he spoke, the more I noticed how different he was now. Like, really noticed. His voice was low, kind of strained, and he spoke with this raw honesty that made my chest tighten. I was surprised by how much he was holding in. He wasn't the goofy kid next door anymore. He had depth now, hurt, confusion, tension in his jaw, and something sad in his eyes. And I don't know what happened to me in that moment, but something inside me just cracked open. I leaned in and hugged him. I don't even know why. It just felt like he needed it. But what surprised me was how tightly he hugged back, like he'd been waiting for someone to just hold him without judging or fixing anything. And that's when the shift really happened for me. I had my arms around his shoulders, and I could feel how solid he was under my touch. His neck, his upper back, that warmth, that quiet strength. I didn't remember him being this grown. And then my hand just started to move. I don't even remember making a decision. It just happened. My fingers slid up the back of his neck, brushing through the short hairs there, feeling the warmth of his skin. I leaned in a bit more, and without thinking, let myself smell him. Not in a creepy way, but in that totally subconscious, instinctual kind of way you do when your body wants someone. He smelled like sweat and summer, and something just real. He was still talking, still slightly hunched over, but I kept touching him, lightly grazing his neck, his collarbone. I could feel him relaxing, just melting into it. The more I touched him, the more my mind started slipping back into that heat I hadn't let go of since earlier. I could still feel that need deep inside, still lingering like an itch I hadn't scratched all the way. And I think that's why I did what I did next. I reached down and took his hand. I stood there for a second, just watching. My heart was thudding in my ears, not out of fear, but anticipation. I didn't know what I was doing, only that I wanted to be near him again. So I climbed into the bed, but he did wake up. He blinked a few times, turned to face me, completely stunned. His eyes searched mine for answers. There were no words between us at first, just quiet breathing, a little confusion, and something else. Recognition. He didn't push me away, didn't freak out. He just lay there, trying to make sense of it. And instead of explaining, I reached for his hand. I held it gently, like I was giving him time to catch up. His hand was warm, strong, still rough from whatever summer work he'd been doing. And as our fingers laced together, I think he understood what I was trying to say without speaking. That I felt something. That we'd crossed a boundary, and I wasn't afraid of it. We stayed there like that for a while, quiet, connected, just breathing in each other's space. And I don't know how long it lasted, but I do know it felt like the first time in a long time where I didn't feel lonely in my own skin, where I wasn't pretending to be chill or detached or fine. I was just me, with someone who had unexpectedly seen all of that.